Hi, folks. Hi, folks. You were Tacitus today. Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about a well-worn subject, but one where the numbers are a little bit scarce, and that's the number of actual skilled people that are part of the mass migration wave into the West. Now, I can tell you from firsthand when I travel around the inner city in Sydney on the public transport, how many third world peasants, and I mean peasants, how many third world peasants there are, and whether they're freeloaders that are using the education system to come in through the migration backdoor or what, it doesn't really matter, but there's absolute masses of brown and black people, mostly brown, but brown and black people in Sydney, and I'm frequently the only white person. I mean, think about this: the only white person on the bus or train carriage. So now we're told by our governments, Western governments, that are of course completely controlled by the globalist cabal. We're told by our governments that these are all engineers. These are all quadruple PhD genius engineers and doctors and fucking rocket scientists, brain surgeons, that's what they are. We need these skills. The economy can't grow without these skills. Well, hold on, stop the lies. This is something that particularly irritates me about the globalist cabal, is their narrative is 100% lies, 100% lies. Not close to 100, but 100% lies. And because they control the media and the major political parties, they're able to peddle these lies and get them believed in some quarters at least. I mean, we know, our lying eyes tell us that, well, what are you talking about? 4 foot 8 inch tall, fucking Filipino peasant is a brain surgeon. I mean, get fucked. But this is where we are. So in Europe recently, I think it was for last year, a sort of a paper tabulating the skills and the qualifications, the education, etc., of the mass migrants coming into, this is, I think, Western Europe. I think this is. I don't think it includes Ukrainians. I think it's only the surplus population areas of the planet, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sub-Saharan Africa, and so on. But it looks at these and it breaks down the skills. Now, like any Western government sort of instrumentality body these days, they have an obligation to inform the public, but at the same time obscure information that isn't suitable or in alignment with the narrative, the pro-globalization, pro-mass migration narrative. So you can imagine them turning themselves inside out about how do we conceal the truth whilst pretending to tell the truth, which is an interesting sort of thing. And these people have no trouble with concealing the truth, and they're irritated and annoyed by their obligation to tell it, which is, of course, the last thing they want to do. So if you look at this actually there's a few one from the EU, or two from the EU, and one from Germany and one from Britain. So you kind of have to do your own number crunching, and given that they use deliberately deceptive practices to obscure the statistical or the actuality and the reality, then you have to be aware of their little tricks and how they do them, and then pass, as in PARSE, pass the numbers to get to some sort of meaningful position. But anyway, the bottom line is that 1.35% of all the mass migrants over the last 5 years they've looked at, and you could go back further, over the last, only 1.35% are actually skilled or qualified. Now, these would be the supposed doctors and engineers and rocket scientists and so on. Now, the majority of those actually come from other first world countries. So the number of third world people coming in, it's only slightly in favor, by the way, but given the great mass of people are from the third world, then the very small number of first world migrants into Europe. I wasn't sure whether this meant sort of people moving from France to Germany or Germany to Spain, or movements within those first world countries, or it was, say, scientists or engineers or doctors white doctors, say, coming from South Africa, for example. Was that something that was going on? So they were a little bit vague on all that. But when you actually crunch the numbers, again, out of every 1,000, something like 13 or 14 of the people are actually qualified. It's a tiny, tiny proportion of the mass migrants coming in. Now, this is, if I've read it correctly, this is the first world standard, but even that was a bit vague. So people coming from Pakistan and India, where it's quite routine to bribe someone to get your degree, get the bit of paper. It's just how things are done there. It's not like it's like, oh, wow, it's just how things are done there. So the majority of those coming in actually aren't or won't be qualified in anything at all. And I can attest to that firsthand. I've hired Indians with PhDs in computer science that couldn't cut a line of computer code to save themselves. They can't even fucking switch the computer on. They just bribed their way to get that degree. And university is just a social club for the Brahmin, the upper Indian caste or class, to hang out and pick up chicks and go to parties and all that sort of stuff. So they're not, it's not an education institution for them. Not that there are like zero Indians that don't work hard and go to college, but those will be the very well insider connected ones that have got very cushy, well-paid, cozy jobs in India and hundreds of servants to run around and do their shit. So, so out of the mass migrants coming in, of the brown and the black variety, about 1 in every 170 is a qualified person, and that would be it. So that's the ratio. And there's a second tier of what they call semi-skilled or skilled migrants in a separate category, and that's the bar is very low, very low. Even at this category, it's very low. For example, if you claim you can cook a kebab or flip a burger or heat up a curry in the microwave, then you become suddenly a skilled migrant in that category. Or if you say you know how to use a vacuum cleaner to clean the hotel room, or how to push a broom, or you can type it, one word a minute or something like that. Skilled. So now, a lot of these people that fit into that category either A, have invented or fabricated bullshit sort of, certifications from third world colleges, where again, bribery is how it all works, or they come to the West as supposed or alleged students, and they get to do a 6-week course in ass wiping or something or other, and then they get a certificate there, again from some bullshit ghost college. And then they're then written up as qualified and skilled and so on. So the bar is very, very low for skilled. But given how low the bar is, this means that 88% or 87%, if we're generous, 86%, 87% have zero skills at all. Now the so-called skilled people don't even have to speak English or a European language to meet the skilled criteria. So you can be 100% illiterate in, so you're going to England, 100% illiterate in English, or French if you're going to France, Germany if you're going 100% illiterate in that, but maybe able to flip a burger, and you still get waved in as a skilled migrant. So this means the other people have no language, no skills of any description. They may never have worked ever in their lives. If they lived in some rural bullshit town or village in the middle of fucking nowhere in some Pakistan or Bangladesh or Afghanistan or something like that, they'll have no skill. I don't know. Does the skills of goat herding, is that transferable to a first world economy? I would say no. But so this just illustrates just how many unproductive, illiterate, IQ 70 peasants are being brought into the West. Now, no sort of sane person would ever do that, would even dream of it. So it's being done for another, and I would argue, nefarious purpose. But otherwise, you just wouldn't fucking do it. Nobody would do it. Now, unless every job is pushing a broom. But just to sort of balance things out here, with the artificial intelligence revolution, which we're always told is around the corner, a bit like mass nuclear weapons in Iran, it's always just around the corner. then pushing a broom is something that an AI sort of program can't do. Whereas the job of, say, an accountant or a marketing executive, or there's plenty of jobs that are white collar jobs, mainly held by white people, that not exclusively, but mainly held by white people, and supposedly higher qualified people, then an AI would replace many of those jobs, or part of them, if not all of the functions, or the amount of people needed to do the job. Programming is another one. Entry level programming is almost totally done by AI. Even now, there are people that again couldn't cut a line of code to save their lives, but they've got an idea and they can just go to an AI machine and say, build me a program that does this. I'm simplifying that a little bit, but that's effectively where it's at. So so a lot of those jobs would be under threat, at least. But the pushing the broom, cleaning the toilets, occupations like, say, trades, an AI program can't climb under your house and do the plumbing, fix the plumbing, and so there are still jobs out there that are that will need tradies. But even mechanics jobs, just looking at the sophistication of some of the more modern cars that have got a million sensors in them, and that the service is no longer handled by a mechanic that analyzes and discerns what the problem is. They plug in a computer to analyze the sensors, then just comes out, replace these parts, bang, done. And not that no mechanical skill or knowledge is needed, some is, but the instruction videos that mechanics get now to do the work are so detailed, and so because again, much of that done by AI as well, that you really don't need to be a well-qualified mechanic. Pretty much anybody with, say, 6 months rudimentary knowledge could probably have a go at it and quickly pick up the knowledge needed to be effective going on. But I want to come back to these numbers. We're told that it's all doctors and engineers that are coming in, but to whatever extent it is, 1.35%, excuse me, 1.35% actually are highly qualified, and many of those, just around 45% of them come from third world countries. Most of those will have got their degrees or qualifications or certifications by bribery and corruption. Very few will actually be skilled. So this means that hardly anyone coming in is skilled in anything, unless you want to call sweeping a floor a skill, which I would argue it isn't. Now, there's something similar was in Australia some years ago. A study was conducted, which the government made great efforts to hide, and the media almost refuses point blank to talk about, which is less than 5%, between 3 and 5%, depending on how you want to do it. Between 3 and 5% of the mass migrant intake into Australia are skilled at anything, or are capable of being net contributors. That is, do they speak English? Do they have a real qualification that's recognised in Australia? And can they get a job within are they in an area of expertise that is needed in Australia, and can they get a job in some reasonable amount of time? And only between 3 and 5% were deemed to fit into that category. And you get the impression that the public service group doing the group that they hired to do it were attempting to be as generous as they could. So I would say that 3 to 5% is probably at the very high end of the range. So again, this illustrates that a tiny proportion of people coming in are actually skilled in any meaningful sense. So the rest are just freeloaders and parasites, and this is having an incredibly negative effect on productivity figures, new wealth creation, and so on. It's also putting so many companies and government departments in a position where they have to create daycare jobs for illiterate peasant migrants, thus contributing even further to the downfall of the West. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.